Okay, am I live? Actually, you know what? I'm going to move my microphone over here because I know you guys can hear me typing. So I'm going to move it over here in hopes that this will be better. So the typing isn't as loud as it normally is. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Prep Talk episode 4. If you're new here, my name is Kissa. And while I'm waiting for people to join in, I thought I would just tell you a little bit about what I do. I am a food business entrepreneur. My family and I have owned a cafe for over 12 years, and we pivoted last year to an online food business. And we've been in the food business for the past, 13 years, and we have loved every minute of it. So in this live show, I show you how I prep for the week, not just business, but personal as well, in hopes that I can inspire you and give you some tips on how to plan for the week for yourself and how I use the tools that I have to make sure I'm getting the most out of my weeks. So welcome. I'm happy you're here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding productivity, our food business, or anything like that. I'm more than happy to answer. So please put that in the comments or the chat. So anyway, oh man, Monday, I'm tired. So just to recap you on what kind of went on for us last week, we had a 2-day pop-up in downtown LA this past weekend. And so our week was focused on prepping for that so that we can have the best outcome as possible. And I think I mentioned this in last week's live session, but with the way that the food industry is currently kind of morphing and changing over the course of this pandemic and trying to figure out how we can still continue to thrive while being safe, I think for our business, personally, pop-ups are the way to go. So we are going all in and doing, at least 2 pop-ups a month. This May, we actually will be doing 3. So last weekend was 2 out of the 3 pop-ups we have planned for the month of May. And it was a very important pop-up for us because the event that we participated at was called Unique Markets. It's in downtown LA every year. They usually hold 3 pop-ups every year. Due to the circumstances, I think they had one in 2019, and I think that was the last one they did. If they did have any in 2020, we didn't participate in any personally, but we were ready to participate in their spring market, which was at this location called The Row in downtown LA. So we were very excited. It was, it's always a great turnout. Unique Markets is always a great event for us, and so we knew we wanted to bring our A game. This was the first time we were participating in this event with our pivoted business, and so we wanted to just kind of put our best foot forward and make sure we were as prepared as possible. So last week, when it comes to the pop-ups, we were really intentional on planning and making sure we had enough product and things like that, so that we could have a full shelf. We've noticed that when product looks sparse and doesn't look like you have a lot left is when customers tend to kind of veer away. When your products look full and abundant and looks well stocked, that's when customers are kind of more tempted to kind of take a look and see what you have. Which is funny because you would think that if you're selling out and you're almost out of stuff, that'll kind of make people go, I wonder what they have there. They must have been really busy. Let's go take a look. But actually, it's the opposite. So the more stocked you are, the better we've noticed the attraction is to your booth. So we were prepping for that. On day one, we knew we were going to bring 10 of each of our heavy hitter products. So that's basically all of our ube products. We were going to bring 10 of those, and then the other products that don't move as fast, we were going to bring 5 of each. And then on top of that, we knew we were going to do some kind of deal where if they buy a certain amount, they get a discount. So all of our units were $6 that were in a little bag. Our loaves and bottled products were $7. And so anything that they mixed and matched of the $6 price point, they can mix and match, and we would put into a gift box for them. And they could either get 1 for $6 or 4 for $20. So it would make each unit $5. And so that worked really well for us. We knew that we wanted to do that just to get people to, want to fill up that box and hopefully spend a little bit more at our table. So that was the plan. It worked out really well. People were really tempted. So whenever people would come up to the table, I would greet them and I would just say, hi, these are our products, and just to let you know, this is the price point, or you can mix and match and get it for this price point. And so there were a ton of people that were like, oh, well then I have to get 4, and they would just pick and choose whichever they liked. That worked out really well. Since we knew, and we've done these events before, and we knew how many of each product we wanted to bring, our main concern was we would have enough for the pop-ups, but we would also have enough and not sell out or take stock away from our online store. So we wanted to make sure we had inventory for both. That way the online store can keep going and generate our regular income, and then the pop-up at Unique Markets would have its own separate inventory, and we would, fulfill from its own count of inventory. So that was the biggest stressor, but other than that, because other than the stress of doubling up our production and obviously having to buy double the supplies that we needed, it worked out really well. So the actual pop-up itself, like I said, we had those particular products, and then we had the deal if they buy 4. And then our biggest focus when it came to the presentation was the design of our booth. And I wanted to really bring up the design and presentation when it comes to doing pop-ups, because there's a lot at play when you do pop-ups. It's not the same as a brick and mortar space, and it's not the same at every single show. So that is something I also wanted to bring up, because you can have a successful event and really great sales at one event with your setup, and then you can have the exact same setup at another event and completely bust. And you want to ask why. That happened to us multiple times, and we said, what happened? We did really well at this event with this exact same setup. We brought the exact same thing at the next one, but it wasn't the same outcome. And why is that happening? And we've observed over time that the reason is because when you do pop-ups, it's not just you confined into 4 walls, and you're not the one controlling the experience, right? Usually with pop-ups, there's a host of the event, and then you are one of the participants. You're one of the vendors at this event. And so you have to take into account the external factors of pop-ups. 1, the weather, right? The weather could be a huge factor on whether or not people go. If it's too hot, sometimes people are like, it's too hot, I don't want to be outside, I don't want to go. If it's indoors and it's hot, they're like, great, it's going to be air conditioned, it's probably going to be heated or whatever it is. And so an indoor event might work. However, in these times, sometimes an indoor event will deter people, because some people might say, I'm not comfortable with being inside for that long period of time around strangers, even if your state or wherever you live or wherever the event is being hosted is allowing indoor events like that. If they are allowing it, some people say regardless if local health department or, my government is allowing it, I still personally don't feel safe. So now there's all those factors that are at play. So weather is one. Another is the booth assignments. Whoever is the host of the event is going to figure out the assignment of the booths and where people are going to be situated based on the location that the event is being hosted at. That has a lot to do with it as well. So whoever your neighbor is and how their booths are set up also has an effect on the outcome of your event too. So if next to you, for example, at this event, we were one of 2 food vendors at this pop-up. And so they put me and the other food vendor right next to each other. Granted, some people might see that as a disadvantage because food, some people would think your competition is right next to you. Like, isn't that not a good thing? I would kind of counter that with saying, what about food courts? If you go to a mall, all the food vendors are in one area in the food court and they all do well. So no, I don't find it threatening. I don't find it, I don't get upset when there are food vendors right next to me. I think it's a really good idea because what they offer, you don't have to offer. And what you offer, they don't have to offer. And even if it was, another vendor that sold something very similar to me right next to me, we happen to both be desserts at this pop-up, it's still different. It's still not the same. She has their business, she has their own story, and we have our own story. We have our own journeys. We have our own customer base. And so what you have to offer and what your competition has to offer, regardless, is going to be different, even if you sell very similar products. So that has to be said. I'm very much so a person that embraces everyone. Even if you create something the same or what I find to be the same, it doesn't threaten me in any way. If anything, it pushes me and it makes me go, oh, okay, this person, I love their presentation, or I love their booth setup, or whatever it is. And it pushes me to say, how can I up-level mine? Instead of feeling threatened, because I'm also a believer of what you give and the emotions that you're expressing, regardless if you're trying to hide them or not, can be absorbed by other people. So if you have if you feel negative or if you feel angry, people are going to sense that from you. If you feel happy, if you feel proud, if you feel confident, people are going to receive that from you, regardless if you're trying to hide those emotions or not. There's just this aura, right? This vibe that I always say that come from people. And if I feel any negative vibe whatsoever, or discouraged vibe or anything like that, it makes me not want to stop. It makes me not want to hear about what this person is offering or has to say. And so if you approach it from a place of appreciation, of gratitude, of welcoming, of excitement, people are going to feel that. So that also has a very, going into the next point, that also has a very big effect on whether or not you do well at these events too. Because I have had, like I said, I have had multiple events where I feel worried that, we're not going to do well because we spent money on a booth fee and I need to make that money back, right? Like that is always what we think of. How much was our investment and how much will we make? And that's valid. That's completely valid. But at the same time, if you're only focused on that, which I have been before, people can feel it. They can feel what kind of energy you're putting out. And if it's negative, they're going to say, I kind of don't want to stop. want to see. Or they might look at your booth from afar because they feel like they don't want to be approached. They don't want to be talked to because you don't maybe feel welcoming or anything like that. So it has your emotions also, and your perspective on the situation and how you're doing at the event also has a play on, how you do, because, you're selling at the end of the day at these events. And you do have to have a smile on your face. You do have to be ready to interact with people regardless of how discouraged you feel or, anything like that. And you have to be ready and willing to see the good, because even if your event is super slow for you, you have to truly, genuinely feel like you're doing great. You can't pretend that you feel like you're doing great. You have to truly feel it. And so sometimes you've got to ask yourself, what can I be happy about or grateful for in this very moment to change my mindset, to make me feel more encouraged and excited about being here. So that takes a lot of energy as well, but it's needed. It definitely is necessary. Another thing that could be at play when it comes to the outcome of an event is observation. So like I said, if you notice the pattern in which customers are walking through a pop-up event, you might have this plan in place. Like I said, Charlie and I spent so much time planning out our booth because we wanted to make it really good. But you might have this plan in place and you go in and people aren't responding to it. You have to ask why. How come people aren't stopping? Or, why do people look but then just walk away, right? And so there has to be some observation there, some customer buying pattern observations that you're making so that you can plan your booth or adjust your booth accordingly. The great thing about a booth is nothing is set in stone. So even if you have it set up and it's not working, you can easily move things around, and you can move them around after you've observed. Even during the event, you can say, oh, I noticed that people are walking from this side, so maybe I face some products this way so when people walk, they can see what's going on over here. Or you can say, oh, I noticed that, I have this tall thing and it's kind of blocking the view of this thing that's lower. Let's switch it around, because if people are walking this way, I want them to see what's lower and then I want them to see what's higher. So observe your customers based on the flow of the event and adjust accordingly, because no two events are the same, even if it's hosted by the same person. It all depends on customer behaviors and the way that people are perceiving what you have to sell or what you want to talk about. Another thing is, like I said, don't be afraid to move things around. Don't be afraid to adjust, and don't wait until day 2. Or don't wait until the end of the event and say, okay, we're going to do this next time. If you're able to change things now, right that second, even during the event, because you think it'll be better and you might have a better outcome, do it. No one will be mad that you're moving stuff around. If you think that it's going to benefit you, if you think you might gain a few more sales because it will look better to the customers that are at that event, do it. Don't be afraid. Do it, do it, do it. I think it's 100% worth it. Let me just make sure that we are good. Sorry, guys. All right. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is have fun. And before I talk about having fun, make sure that you have options for people when they're paying, when they're checking out. Especially nowadays, a lot of people like contactless payments. So do you have a Venmo QR code that people can scan? Do you have tap credit card readers. Do you have a credit card reader? You should, because everyone nowadays, if you're going to be doing pop-ups, you'll be able to get more sales if you offer, credit cards, or if that's an option for your customers. Definitely make sure that that is an option for them, because it's important. I personally don't carry around cash very much anymore, and a lot of people are just like me and they don't. So you have to make sure that you offer some kind of cashless option. I know a lot of people would rather get cash, but also in times like this, do you really? I mean, even before all of 2020 happened, and I hated handling cash when I would have to do the cash sales for our restaurant. Money is like one of the dirtiest things that you can touch, because it's such a quick exchange of things, of materials with other people. You could give me a 5, I'll give you ones, and then someone had just touched that a second ago. Money doesn't get disinfected or cleaned unless you happen to accidentally throw it in the washer because you put it in your pocket, you never took it out. So it's one of those things where money is dirty, literally and figuratively, I guess. So a lot of people actually nowadays prefer cashless transactions. And what's great is if you have a Venmo account or something like Zelle, it's an option, and it's very low in fees. And then with credit cards also, there's a lot of businesses that are trying to work things out with small businesses so that the rates for credit cards are lower. And that's always something that you can talk to with these companies, and just or build into your price as well. So that's something to think about. Anyway, the last thing that I wanted to mention for pop-ups is have fun. Think of it as a marketing expense. So if a booth costs $100, right? And this is just me throwing out numbers, but if a booth costs $100, don't focus on trying to make that $100 back. Just think of it as an expense. It's just part of your operation. Whatever you sell is icing on the cake. Use this as an opportunity to have fun and talk to people about what you're most passionate about, which should be what you're selling. Is it a service? Is it a product? It doesn't matter. But tell them your story. Tell them about why you're excited and why you even started the business in the first place. How's it going to help them? If you're able to talk about that to people, I can guarantee you the vibe will change. Your eyes will light up. You're going to be excited. And so everything in you is going to be more positive, and people are going to feel that. And if they know your story, they know where you came from and why you're doing what you're doing, they're going to want to be part of that. Trust me. And if they don't, then they're not your customer. But there are going to be customers that at that event that will believe in what you have to offer. But you have to tell them the story. So those are my tips for pop-ups. For us, Unique Markets was a huge success. We did way better than we thought we would. We sold out. I think I mentioned this. We sold out on Saturday almost within 2 hours of the beginning of the event. We only had a few items left for the rest of the day. The event started at 10. We started selling out and running really low on products at 12, before 12 p.m. And then the event ended at 4. So the last 4 hours of Saturday, we were just, what we had is what we had. We didn't even have every single product on display because we had sold out of them so quickly. On Sunday, it drizzled. Heavy drizzle. I don't want to say rain because it wasn't raining, but it was heavy drizzle. And so that kind of deterred people, and we brought more product. However, we still did the same amount of sales. And so I could have been discouraged about the rain because it was damaging our display. Our products were getting rained on. Thankfully, they were sealed in bags, so they weren't, damaging the actual product, but the packaging and the stickers and stuff was just not cute to look at. And so, we brought more product and we still sold out of a lot of things, and we only came back with very, very little. So regardless of the weather, we still did really well. And I think that has to do with just the pride we felt and the excitement we felt for just being part of the event in the first place. Like I said, we've been doing that event for quite a long time. I want to say at least 5 years. I want to say more than 5 years, but let's just say at least 5 years. And I look back on how I felt the first few years, and I have to tell you, I didn't feel the way that I feel now about these events, especially as a minority woman-owned business. I was afraid of how people were going to perceive our products, because at the time, not a lot of people knew about ube, and this event is not exclusively for Filipino vendors. And so we were taking ourselves out of that comfort zone, and because our goal with our food business is to share Filipino food with other people that are not necessarily Filipino. And so this event was the perfect opportunity to do that, but I was scared. I was scared that what we had to offer wasn't going to be accepted. I was scared that people were going to look at it and kind of go, ew, that's gross, and how that would make me feel. But I did it anyway. And over the years, I've gained more and more confidence about the products that we offer. And this year, though, I have to say, not once was I ashamed of my brand, my story, or my products. I was very proud of what I had to offer. I had confidence that I had never had before, and I'm so happy that I felt that way. And it has to do with a lot of the goals that I set for myself and the internal work that I did this past year and in 2020 to really just be proud of my journey, who I am, and what I have to offer in the world. And that's not easy. And if you're in that road where you're trying to get there, I know it's not easy, but you will get there as long as you commit to doing the work and doing that internal work. And I can tell people were so, people received it. People received that energy that I had, and it was really great. And on top of that, I do have to say that more people knew about Filipino ingredients and knew about ube, which is in a lot of the products that we sell, and they were not Filipinos that would walk by and would say, "Oh, ube, I love ube." And back in the day, people did not do that. They didn't know about ube really and what that was, and it was our responsibility and our job to really explain what that is. And I took that responsibility seriously. But now we had to do it less and less. It was less often that we actually had to, explain. And it was less often that people would have to stand and hear or get educated about the ingredients. What we're educating people about more this time was our business story, and that helped with our brand. So all in all, I would say it was an amazing pop-up. Like I said, I'm so glad that we were able to be a part of it, and I'm really excited to do more pop-ups. We're definitely going to be working on a display that really represents us well. Our booth was great this time, but I'm really excited about the setup that we are kind of brainstorming now, and I'll definitely be sharing with you guys what that's going to look like in the future. But I'm really excited. So I want to share my screen, and then before we go into our planning for the week, let me show you a few pictures of our actual setup. That way you can kind of see what it looked like. But let me open up let me see, entire screen. Okay. Whoa. Okay, let me do this. Not the entire screen, current application. There we go. Okay, so let me open up my photos and show you the booth isn't here. Darn. Actually, you know where it might be. Instagram.com, Leon's Dessert Lab. Okay, So I did a I'm trying to learn how to do reels, but this was the event. This is me just kind of walking through, and like I said, it was in between two buildings. There's 2 rows of these buildings, and this was our booth. And so we had shelves, and we put, our products in multiple places, and I think it worked really well for us. It was the best, turnout that we've had in a booth ever. And so we're going to definitely be doing something like this, but our big priority now is how do we kind of, make it easier to transport, because that was, I think, the biggest stressor for us. How do we make this easier to transport and make it as minimal as possible so there's less moving parts? Because all of these shelves and everything that you see is all its own separate thing. So we're going to try and figure out how we're going to optimize that to make it a little bit easier for us. But yeah, that was it. All right, so let's plan out for the week. We've got our Notion HQ here, and to be honest with you, I'm going to take the day today to just kind of recover. Charlie and I are really tired, and I think it's because it's been a while since we've been on our feet like this. When we used to have a restaurant, this was our daily life. We would take, our pedometer would say we would take an average of anywhere between 8,000 to 15,000 steps a day. That was our norm. And now that we don't have the restaurant, we're not taking, we're not as active on a regular basis as we used to be. So being on our feet for over 8 hours and lifting and commuting from where we live to downtown LA and all of that, just everything in general did definitely take a toll on us. So I'm going to take today to kind of rest, well, quote unquote rest, because there's always something that I'm working on, but I'm going to take today to rest and then kind of get the jump start on everything tomorrow. But let's go ahead and create, this is for my personal weekly agenda. So it's going to have an end date. The start date is going to be May 17th. May 17th, my gosh. And then it's going to end on May 23rd. So that's Monday to Sunday. That's how I basically live my life, week by week, Monday to Sunday. So this is going to be May 17th to 23rd. And then template. Weekly template. So it's going to generate everything for me here. I just need to edit my filters now. So I'm going to filter my daily journal so that it's on or after May 17th. I don't have any daily journals yet, but we'll do that together today. And then my tasks are going to be filtered so that it's on or before Sunday the 23rd. So anything that's due before the 23rd is going to show up in my weekly tasks here. And then we have our reflection questions as usual that I went over. So my personal weekly agenda is good to go. I'm also going to create my daily journal. So I'm going to create my daily here. Today is Monday, 5/17/21, and then I'm going to go down and click on my daily journal template. In next week's live show, I'm going to show you more about setting up templates and how to do that. So make sure you check out next week's live for that. Okay, so my daily journal is set up, and I'm going to put in my focuses. My focus today will be I will rest today, because if I don't, I won't be at my best the rest of this week. And then when I do, I will another thing that I am going to focus on today is I will take Evie to the groomer, because if I don't, she won't have a clean cut for the summer. And then when I do, I will have the cutest pup in the world. Okay, and then the other thing that I'm going to focus on today is I will have my weekly meeting with Charlie, because if I don't, we won't be on the same page for the week. When I do, I will have clarity on what I need to work on. All right. Okay, what can I do today that will move the needle forward? That's easy. Rest and recharge. All right, so these are my tasks for today. A lot of them are actually personal things, so that will get done. And then this is my reflection for the night. So I'm good for today. The things that I do need to do are fill out the top area here. I can make a whole live show on these properties and why these are here, so that can be in a future live show that I go over, because there's just so much you can do in Notion, and there's reasons why me or someone else does them the way that we do them, and there's nothing wrong with the way each person does it. It just depends on what makes the most sense for each individual. And so I'll go over these and why these are here for me personally, but that'll be on a different live show. All right, so my weekly agenda is set up. Now let's go into Dessert Lab. 12 o'clock. Let's go into Dessert Lab and create the weekly agenda for that. As you saw, Charlie and I have not done our weekly meeting yet, so I don't have anything to input into this week's weekly agenda just yet. However, I want to get everything up to date before I do the meeting with him, because I want to make sure that I checked off all the things that are already done and we're current before I talk to him and we add new projects to our plate for the business. So, new is going to be May 17th through the 23rd. We don't have any orders yet. There might be some throughout the week, but nothing yet. And then I don't know about what projects we're going to be focusing on this week, because we don't have any pop-ups for this weekend, which is kind of nice. We can kind of relax. So this will be open for now. It'll be empty, and then we'll see what comes up throughout the week, and I can add it later. And then any meetings we have, I'll put here, but we haven't had our meeting, like I said, so that'll stay empty. So we'll click on the template here for our weekly meeting. All right, so what is in progress or not started? Affiliate program we haven't worked on yet. That's something that we do want to work on. Wholesale pancake mix for restaurants, that's the pricing. We did already do that, so I'm going to mark that as complete. And then we have the Cafe Aficionado pop-up. That's on May 30th. We haven't started that yet. It'll probably get started next week, so we'll leave that. Unique Markets pop-up is complete. That was this past weekend. Hire bench for bookkeeping. So I'm going to put this in progress, and I'm going to make this due actually earlier. So I'm going to start next week. So I want to work on that this week. That means I have to get my books up to date, because I want it to be current when I go ahead and hire bench for my bookkeeping. So, all right. And then we have this June pop-up, let's say target date is June 1st. It's not June 1st, but I know it's going to be in June sometime. So that won't be started yet. And then our cost analysis for our black garlic longanisa. I'm going to put paused on that. That is definitely something that we want to do because I think we want to sell it so people can purchase it raw and cook at home, but we have to kind of figure out the logistics on that. Maybe we'll table that for now or talk about it at our meeting later today. All right, so here's our tasks that need to be done. This still need to buy task is done because that was for our pop-up this past weekend. Request reinstatement, I have to do that. Weekly agenda, I think we did that. That was for last week. And then these we need to work on. Oh, Charlie did new packaging already, I believe. We just haven't done the newsletter or the reseller spotlight yet, so we'll reschedule these for sometime this week. I have fold empanadas that's needed, and that's going to be done this 19th. That's right. And then bookkeeping I'll do tomorrow because I want to rest today. Okay, cool. So that's done. It's all updated and it's now ready for a fresh new meeting and fresh new projects and tasks that need to be inputted in there probably today. All right. So that's done. And then let's go into our HQ. So there are a few things that I'm thinking about changing, but one thing I wanted to add was a quote that I saw that I've heard numerous times, but the quote, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." I think that, that's something that I really want to live by when it comes to just how I live my life, especially recently, because, I didn't tell you guys. So we as a business applied for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And so we actually got the grant last week, which is so great. I've been praying about this and, basically experienced a miracle last week. And so a lot of doors are finally opening up for us as a business. And so now that I have that breathing room and we as a family and a business have breathing room, we can really clearly figure out how we want to move forward. And because of that, this quote just resonates so much with just what we're going through now as a business and as a family. We're slowly taking steps day by day to get closer to what we envision our life to be now with a new future ahead of us. And I was talking to a friend about this a couple weeks ago about, the future of what we foresee our business to be. Let me change my screen really quick so you guys can see me. But I was talking to them because they were asking what I personally think our future is going to be. Are we going to open a restaurant again, or, what are we going to do? And I know I've mentioned this in the past that, at least in the near future, a restaurant is not going to be an option for us. And as FOMO as I get sometimes because things are opening up, restaurants are becoming more busy over the past month, sometimes I get tempted to go, should we? Because I kind of miss certain aspects of having a restaurant, but there's a lot of it that I don't miss. And for us personally, Charlie and I had a conversation as a family, we're trying to envision what we want our life to look like moving forward. And that's a hard question to ask because there's so many options. And we weren't really sure until, 2020 kind of pushed us in the direction that we realized we wanted to be in. And now that we have that option and it's a possibility for us, we're very clear on our intention of how we want to live our life. And instead of doing things what I would see as backwards, where we create a business and we revolve our lives around that business, we're changing it where we see the personal life that we want to live and we're creating a business that complements that lifestyle. And it's so great to be able to design that life. It's so great to be able to envision what that looks like for us and create a business that revolves around it, versus in the past, I've told people numerous times that I personally almost feel like we were slaves to our business, because we were operating a business and we were at its mercy. We really were, because we were open from a certain time. We knew what time we had to get there because we needed to prep, and we would stay there for hours a day and basically just come home to sleep. And as a new family and having Micah, we realized that for a long time, that's not the life we wanted to live, but we were just in it and we were in the trenches. We just thought that this is how life had to be. And then when everything shut down, we realized it doesn't have to be this way. And it felt like our eyes were suddenly open to the truth, where you could have a restaurant and there's nothing wrong with that. We actually miss a lot of the aspects of our restaurant a lot. It's not something that, we're completely like good riddance, like we really miss having a restaurant. But then when we look at our life now with Micah and what we want for us personally is freedom, flexibility, and you don't have that in a restaurant environment. With a restaurant environment, you have structure, you have consistency, and for some people that's great. And for a period of my life, that's what I needed. For a period of time, I needed that structure. I needed that consistency. I needed that routine. It was a necessary thing. But now I don't. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm craving. And that's okay. It's okay to not have that same plan that you wanted for yourself. And it's okay for things to change. It's okay for your wants and your needs to be different compared to what they were before. And I didn't think that was allowed. That's something that I put on myself. I didn't think that was allowed. I didn't think that was something I could do, but I realized I could change what I wanted and not feel guilty about it. I can change the trajectory of my life and be 100% happy and excited about it instead of feeling guilty and afraid. And when I realized that, it completely changed everything. And so as sad and as scary as 2020 was, it was also very eye-opening and very optimistic. There was an optimism there that I didn't have before, because there's this open-ended, not sure about what life was going to look like. And it was in a good way. It was almost exciting because I could create the life that I wanted instead of creating the life that I thought I needed and I thought I wanted. I had a choice. And sometimes when you don't feel like you have a choice, it makes you feel cornered, and so you have a limited belief of what you can do. But when you realize that you have a choice, and either way, you can't go wrong, there's this freedom and this excitement, because you're just like, which one do I pick? Good scenario A or good scenario B? You can't lose. It's a win-win. And who doesn't love a win-win situation? So for us, we realized what we wanted, and now we're going to be very diligent and very serious about designing that life. And I'm really, really excited to take you guys along the road. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching this replay, I am really excited for the future, because I've been waiting for so long for a break, and I'm not saying a rest break. I'm talking about like my show business break, but not in show business. And I finally got it. And I think that knowing how hard it was to get here has just made me appreciate so much the journey that I've gone through. And I posted this on Instagram. I wasn't sure if I was going to post the video. Actually, I just recorded it on my phone because I wanted to remember the moment that I paid off this huge loan that we had taken for the restaurant. And when we saw what the sales were like I felt cornered, and I felt completely scared of what was going to happen because I didn't know how we were going to pay this loan back. And I recorded the moment that I pulled into the driveway after going to the bank to pay it off. And like I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to post it because it was honestly just for me. I wanted to remember that moment. But every time I watch it, if you want to watch it, go to my Instagram, watch the video. It's only about 5 minutes long, but I wanted to remember that moment of relief, and I wanted to share that with people because I know there's people out there that felt the same or that feel the same way that I do. And you don't have to believe that it's never going to happen for you. You have to believe that it will. And you might not be able to see the way out, but there is a way out, and you just have to have faith and you have to believe, because I am proof. I'm proof that it's possible. And I just want to encourage you, don't ever limit your belief, and don't ever think that there's something that you cannot do or is not realistic for you. You can do it, no matter what it is, whether it's personal, business, something that you've always dreamed of, getting healed by a sickness, anything is possible. And so whatever it is that you think that you cannot do, find a way to remove that limiting belief from your mindset, because I can tell you, you can do it. I did. And it's only the beginning. It's just the beginning. And it's a new chapter for me personally on this journey. And like I said, I'm so excited to take you guys along the ride. So like I said, if you want to watch that video, go onto my Instagram. I try to post throughout the week on there. So feel free to give me a follow on there. DM me if you have any questions. Put the questions in the comments. I am just so excited to be here for you. If you ever want to work with me or you need some consulting regarding operations or your food business, I have all the information in the description below. But thank you guys for joining in on this weekly live show. I'm going to be live every Monday at 11 a.m. ish, depending on what time Micah goes down for his nap. So make sure you turn on the notification bell, subscribe, because like I said, it'll be give or take 10, 20 minutes around 11 o'clock, because it just all depends. Mom life, whenever the baby goes down for a nap. So thank you guys again. I will see you next week for another live show. We're going to go over templates next week. So make sure, if you are a Notion user or are thinking about using Notion, templates is one of the reasons why I went all in on Notion. So we'll talk about that next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.